Coming up on this week's episode of The Clinch, it's fight week here in South Africa. Finally, EFC 57 is upon us and we have a packed special episode. The Bulawayo Bomber is set to drop some serious ordnance on Saturday. Zimbabwean heavyweight Elvis Moyo takes on Tank Vernmeulen for #1 contender status. He joins me in a moment. And Danny Henry just flew in from Scotland yesterday to acclimatise to the altitude. He's hoping to reclaim the featherweight belt he lost last year. Stand by for subtitles. So welcome to The Clinch. Probably the greatest heavyweight fight in the history of the sport on this continent took place last year at Sun City in the Northwest Province between Andrew van Zyl from South Africa and Elvis Moyo from Zimbabwe. It was a back and forth slugfest with the Bulawayo Bomber ahead on points until Van Zyl shot for the Hail Mary takedown in the fourth and took a TKO victory through ground and pound. It was an incredible fight, one of my favourites of all time. Joining me now ahead of his first fight back since that night is Elvis Moyo. Elvis, is that how you remember that night? What are your memories of that fight?
Oh, it was pretty amazing, entertaining. You know, I did what I had to do, and of course I didn't get the results, but that is besides the point.
Do you agree with me? Do you think you were ahead on points at the time?
I think I was smashing him. I would have wanted to smash him more than I did on the night. I probably still would get my chance to do that. So. But I was way ahead. I mean, he couldn't touch me, he couldn't keep me on the ground, he couldn't take me down. So.
Yeah, was it your toughest fight to date, you think? Was it the toughest fight for you?
No.
Which has been your toughest fight then?
Believe me, my toughest fight is keeping up with my daughter. If anybody can beat that, then that has to be a machine. Like in the cage and the ring, I haven't you know, I would really like to get into a slugfest, you know, like the referees and judges, let the action flow and let somebody get a pounding until they submit. That would be like a test, you know, a toughest fight. But if some stoppages happen while you're still sober, it leaves you with questions like doubting.
What a lot of fight fans didn't see for that event was a few weeks beforehand, we went up to Sun City for a media event, and you and Andrew joined us for dinner at the Shebeen, didn't you? And a lot of people didn't see how well you got on. You've got a lot of respect for each other, don't you? But do you think that you'll be facing Andrew again sometime soon?
I sure want to face Andrew. Like he's a good opponent. I wouldn't want to fight people who don't want to fight me. They're fighting me because they don't have a choice, and then they get into the cage and then they start running, and then, you know, Andrew came in and he fought. You know, like he kept coming forward. I hit him with everything. He kept standing there, so it makes me start thinking out of the box. Like, okay, let me deal with this guy, and I keep on dealing with him. So it's an entertainment. I think if we fought again, it won't be so much a victory for him, but it will be still a good fight for us.
Yeah, he did keep coming forward, but unfortunately it was straight into your left jab. Your jab's fantastic, isn't it? What is the secret?
I've worked on it for years. I've worked on it for years. I've managed to transition it perfectly from boxing into MMA style and still kept it as a perfect jab. So now I can jab someone and they still can't take me down. So yeah, I've actually managed to we worked on it. You know, I've got a fantastic camp. I've got a fantastic gym.
Yeah, that really helps. When you're talking about that transition, you were the WBA African champ. Why did you make the change to MMA? What was the reason? Because you were at the pinnacle of boxing, weren't you?
Yeah, but now the problematic thing is when you're in boxing and you become all Africa heavyweight champion, and then you go for a year without anyone offering you to defend your title or acknowledge that you're a champion. You just have the belt at home and nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
MMA, EFC is currently an organization where I can most likely get 3-4 fights a year, which keeps me busy enough to support my family. You know, I don't really work. For my work is to go and fight.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. A year without a fight after winning a championship, it's just crazy. And so here it is in MMA, the first event of EFC's calendar in 2017. You're fighting straight away, which is great. Your opponent is Mike Vernmeulen. He's on a 4-fight winning streak. What do you make of him? You've obviously studied him. What kind of opponent is he going to be?
I think he's going to be like everyone else. He's going to take a hiding like everyone else. It's just like how much is he going to be willing to take before he goes down, or if he's going to try and push like Andrew. I mean, I've got ammunition for that. I'm actually going to test it on him. So it's also a good fight for me because I've got like plenty of stuff I need to like try out.
Because of your boxing background, I think a lot of people seem to think they misunderstand. They'll make the mistake of thinking that you're easy on the ground and that you've got no jits, or you've got your grappling is subpar, and everyone thinks they're going to take you down. But you've only been submitted once in your career. Do you think you'll possibly make that mistake as well by thinking, oh, I'm going to take him down and submit him, and actually your takedown defense is one of the best in the division?
That's my advantage. It works to my advantage, so I don't complain about it. I don't need to complain about it. I don't even need to probably discuss it because it's actually working on my advantage. You know, when somebody comes in and they think I've got a downfall and they concentrating on that, you know, or at least you're concentrating on that, I'll be smashing you. I'll be doing what I'm capable of, you know. I just do what I gotta do.
There's also, on the same card, there's Vessel Mostert fighting Tony Mustard. I mean, if you look at some of the heavyweights coming up through the ranks now, I think the heavyweight division is the best it's ever been in the EFC. Would you agree with that? Are you excited about how well the heavyweight division is doing in MMA in South Africa?
Seeing that there's 4 or 5 competitive names in the heavyweight is pretty much amazing. Yeah. Actually, it's not even there in boxing, local boxing. So it's actually pretty amazing.
So you're from Bulawayo, which is in Matabeleland. When was the last time you went home, and how do people treat you? Are you a celebrity there, or is it you keep it on the down low?
It's rare for a fighter to become a celebrity, unless you make money like Mayweather. But you know, people always appreciate, you know, like being in Bulawayo and it's your hometown, and then they just hang around with you. But my career mostly is supported and run in South Africa, so I'm pretty much more popular in South Africa than I am in Zimbabwe.
Yeah. Is it somewhere you'd like to return to after your fighting career is over?
Well, basically, it would be like amazing if I can introduce my own boxing gym, own MMA gym there, and keep the life I got, going. Like, I've learned a lot from the career I have now, how to go about it, where to take advantage of it. So even if I don't get that opportunity, but I can still get other guys the opportunity through maybe managing, training, agenting them. You see, that's.
What would it be like for you to return to Bulawayo with the EFC heavyweight belt? Would that mean a lot to you?
That would be pretty amazing, because I've been following, but I doubt if EFC had heavyweight. Not racial, but a black guy like me being a heavyweight champion. So maybe I'll be the first, then I'll be the first Zimbabwean, you know, so it would be like pretty amazing. The competition is always stiff. The belt has been to France, you know, so it actually needs to go next door first before it goes all that way out.
I completely agree with you. You fought in Japan last year, didn't you? What was that like?
It was pretty amazing. It was a boxer versus a wrestler, judo fighter. So we actually fought with our style. So I actually boxed him. I was wearing boxing gloves, boxing boots, boxing pants. He was wearing wrestling boots, wrestling shorts, no gloves, and slapping me. So it was like pretty amazing. But now I took care of him, knocked him out in the 3rd round. I mean, that was good. It was a good experience.
Are you as frustrated as I am that I don't feel there's enough African, particularly with MMA, there's not enough African fighters in the global promotion scene?
If we can get African fighters supported, or sportsmen, let me talk about sports people.
Sure.
If we put support into the sports, our sports people in Africa, we're capable of going out in the world and doing it. You know? But the problematic thing is we've got to struggle, like go through hurdles, like just to make ends meet. And at the end of the day, we end up taking fights which we're not prepared for, just because for the money. You know, like, so you offered good money and the fight is 2 weeks notice. No one else in the world will take it because they are supported well and they're not prepared for it. And then African sportsmen end up taking those chances because it's a financial opportunity.
So what's the answer, Elvis? How do we attract more sponsors to the sport in terms of an African market?
The corporate world is I don't know if it's struggling or something, but I wish they could like just jump in more and advertise through sports people instead of, you know, most of them have opted to advertise through the internet and, you know, like now, but if they still advertise with the sportsmen, it would be nice to see somebody dressing something and representing a certain brand, being a brand ambassador of a certain company. If that's a sportsman, is one good deed towards a sports person.
When you lost to Andrew last year in October, you brought your number one fan, your beautiful daughter, into the cage for the decision. I think she broke everyone's hearts, mine included, when she started crying in the middle of the cage. Is she going to be there for your fight on Saturday?
I highly doubt. Plus, also that was the first live MMA or EFC tournament. She's been to most of my boxing fights. I don't think I would bring it for the next one. Maybe the second one from there, just give her a break, get her to watch back on TV again, and then come back again live. And if she misses it, then I can bring her back. But that's my number one fan right there.
Fantastic. Well, Elvis, your surname is Moyo, which is the Shona word for heart. And I think you've shown all the fight fans in Africa that you've got so much heart. We really appreciate your time today. And I'd love to welcome you back one day as champion. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simon.
This Saturday sees former EFC featherweight champ Danny Henry attempt to reclaim the belt from the very same man he lost it to exactly 1 year ago, right here in Johannesburg. Fresh off the red eye from Edinburgh, here's Danny Henry. Danny, you lost that night by decision after 5 incredible rounds. What's going to be different this time around?
This time around, the fight's completely different. I'm not been dwelling on the fight. I made some silly mistakes, but since then I've gathered a lot of data on Kabesa, and I know where to avoid and where to push.
Yeah, you've got some cracking first round submissions on your record and an amazing wrestling defence. What did Kabesa do that night to win?
He frustrated me a little bit. I struggled with the range a little, and I tried to wrestle a wrestler. I made some mistakes. I was always trying to get up like a wrestler, and that just played right into his game. He's a strong wrestler. He knows the positions probably better than I do, so I sort of played into his hands a little bit and let him run the clock down.
Well, what were your other memories of that night? It was a tough night for you. You were gutted with the loss, weren't you?
Yeah, I was devastated. That night I was really frustrated. I felt like I struggled to get going and I struggled to find my range. And then as the fight went on, I just felt it slipping away from me. I couldn't go through the gears. I let Igue dictate the pace a little bit, and yeah, all those factors combined frustrated the life out of me, and I lost by decision.
Yeah, he said, I think he said last week that the fight was easy for him and he's going to knock you out this time. Was it easy? Was it an easy fight? Will he knock you out next week?
So he says. He says it was an easy fight, but I came closer to finishing it than he did. I nearly had that choke on the fourth. If I'd had another 20 seconds or whatever, I probably landed the harder, cleaner shots during the fight. Yeah, I think it's madness he's talking about it being an easy fight. Backstage he was telling me it was such a high level and all this, and one of my recent fights he's up trying to get a photo of me like some sort of fanboy, so for him to come out and say that stuff after the fight, I'm a bit disappointed with. With regards to him knocking me out, I did get a little chuckle when I read that. I'm not gonna lie. He's not knocked out anybody, is he? Really? Who's he knocked out? I don't think you can.
Yeah, he knocked out Saxon Delafield, but it was a
tiny little guy down in where was that?
Durban.
Down in Durban, yes, tiny little guy. And then how did he finish that? Like ground and pound.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Laughable. That's not a knockout. That's not a knockout.
So you're confident in your wrestling this time out, are you?
Yeah, definitely. I was confident in my wrestling last time. If you watch a fight back, I took him down 2 or 3 times. If he wasn't allowed to climb up the cage, I probably would have held him down a bit longer, but I don't know. The ref had a bit of a howler that night and he seemed to get away with it. I countered a lot of his stuff. I hit a lot of switches. I sprawled on him a couple of times. I hit sit-throughs. I've got good wrestling, and it's only developed in the last year as well. It's only got better. So
he's going to be facing a new Danny Henry, is he?
Definitely. And like I said, from the fight, I've probably taken far more from that fight than he has. You always take more from a loss than you do a win. He's already decided that the fight was really easy last time. Yeah. Because he got the W, he put his hand up and he forgot all about that fight. I haven't forgot anything about that fight, and I've revisited a few times, and every time I do, I take something new away. So
you're a replacement opponent after Boyd Allen injured his wrist out in Miami.
Yeah.
You've faced both those guys. You beat Boyd, lost to Igue. Who would have won that fight, do you think?
Do you know what? It's a difficult one for me. It's the same sort of matchup as me against Igue. Boyd favours his striking. He's got some pretty sharp hands, but I don't think he's got a huge amount of stopping power. So could he outbox him for 5 rounds, or would Igue be able to get a hold of him? Personally, I think Igue probably would have won that fight. It would have been interesting to see how they got on in the gym when they sparred, but I think Igue's wrestling would probably win that fight for him.
Okay. You've flown out here to Joburg, Danny, almost a week and a half before your fight. Is acclimatization on your mind, and how does that work out with your weight cutting?
It's a big factor. I live in Edinburgh. It's on the coast, so we live at pretty much zero above sea level. So to come here, people are probably sick of me banging on about it. I talk about every time over here how much harder it makes it for me to come in and compete. It is a big factor, but getting out here early makes a big difference. So.
You left your gym in Edinburgh to move to Whitburn to join Dinky Ninjas at a high level. What was that change up for you? I mean, how has your game progressed since joining James Doolan and a lot over there?
My game has completely changed, like completely, from top to bottom. I moved over at a higher level initially because the coaching standard is so much higher than anywhere else in Scotland. Probably in the UK, I don't think you would find a better coach. James is a veteran in the sport. He knows it inside out, and he's a very intelligent guy too. So I really enjoyed training under James. So you're only as good as the guys that you're training with.
So who are you sparring with now? You were sparring with Stevie Ray. Is he still a part of the fight team now?
Oh, of course. Stevie's in there. We've got great pros, great judo players. Former British champion Ian Feenan's in there. He's 6 or 7-0 now. He's fighting on the ACB card down in Manchester a week after me. We have good wrestlers, Kieran Malone. We've got mountains of pros, like so many good pros.
You used to be lightweight when you were back in the day, and you're quite a tall guy, so I wouldn't say you're a small lightweight, but why the cut to feather, and are you going to stay at 66 kilos?
The opportunity arose, the EFC contacted my coach asking if we had featherweights, and at the time James asked me, he said, look, an opportunities came up to go and fight over in South Africa. Do you think you can make featherweight? And I said, you know what, I'll give it a go. We'll see how we go. And I've been a featherweight ever since.
Your loss to Igue was your first and only in the UFC, and your second pro loss. Has it frustrated you? I mean, do you think that you'd be joining Stevie Ray in the UFC, for example, if you'd won that night last year?
Do you know what? It's hard for me to say. I can never say for certain, but I probably would have. Yeah, I would like to think I'd be in there.
Is that still something that you think's attainable? Is that your goal in the future?
Absolutely. The UFC is definitely attainable. I've got the skills to get me there. It's just getting the wins and right time, right place, and hopefully I'll get my shot.
What has your journey in the EFC been like? I mean, fighting here in South Africa. This is your 7th fight now in the Extreme Fighting Championship, isn't it? What's it been like for you?
It's been good. It's been enjoyable. I've managed to achieve most of the goals I set myself. I set myself a target of getting the belt pretty early on when I came here. In the first promo thing, I said I was here to get the gold, and I came and I got it. So yeah, I've really enjoyed coming over here. It's a good experience every time I come out, and the exposure and stuff's great for me.
Do you ever get to see some of this beautiful country? I mean, do you ever go back to Edinburgh with a tan, or do you get to see some of this country? Because you always seem to be flying in and out and never staying around. Do
you know what? I probably won't get a tan this time because there's so much rain. But
That's true.
I don't tend to tan very well, to be honest with you.
Well, we're trying to make you feel at home with all this rain, Danny. Like a few of the other MMA athletes, you got into the sport because you were scrapping with your brothers at an early age. That's how you started fighting.
Still do.
Would you still scrap with your brothers? What do they make of your fighting career? Your family as a whole?
My brothers love it. Like they absolutely love it. They phone me, and honestly, they think they're sort of MMA analysts the way they go on. They just try to tell me how to fight and stuff. It's hilarious, and. I don't get to see them as much as I'd like to, but when we do, we end up having a roll about, and they'll never learn.
But you say it was your cousin who did karate who inspired you originally. What does he make of the whole journey?
Yeah, I don't have as much contact with him these days, but yeah.
You said you used to look up to him, didn't you?
I did, yeah. He lived with us when we were really young. He lived with us. He was working down near where we lived, so he stayed with us when we were kids, and he was karate mad. We used to watch all the films and stuff on. There's a film called Best of the Best. I don't know if you've seen it. Best of the Best. Oh, it's amazing. You should watch it. And we would watch that and then just all knock fuck out each other in the living room. It was a good time.
When you beat Matt Bursky, I think in the post-fight interview, you kind of shouted out to all the lads back in Whitburn. How would you describe West Lothian to someone who's never been there? West
Lothian, to be honest with you, right, I'll level with you.
Yeah.
I don't know a great deal about West Lothian, right? I train in West Lothian, but I literally know where the gym is and I know where the petrol station is. And that's the two things that I go to West Lothian for. I just go there to train. I'm an Edinburgh man.
And that's it. Well, since we're talking about Scotland, let me ask them a final question, so indulge me.
Go.
Would you support a second Scottish referendum if Brexit goes ahead?
I don't know, like, I don't read papers or pay too much attention to the news because the media is just, it's just nonsense. Like the border, the same newspaper can print two completely different headlines. So I think it's just nonsense, to be honest with you. I don't put a lot of weight into it, and I don't really follow politics at all.
I appreciate that. And as a fellow Brit, I really appreciate you coming in today, and good luck with your fight on Saturday.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Well, that's your lot for this week's episode of The Clinch. Don't forget you can get hold of us through all the usual social media accounts. If there's anything whatsoever that you want to share or you want to see, please get hold of us. Join me next week for more insight, features and interviews. Thanks for watching. Be good.